My name is Wong Hong Pui, class code K61, group number 4. What for? By Noel Petty. One more word, said my dad, and I'll give you what for. What for? I said. That's right, he said. What for? No, I said. I mean, what for? What are you going to give me what for? Never you mind, he said. Wait and see. But what is what for? I said. What's what for? He said. It's to teach you what's what. That's what. What's that? I said. Right, he said. You're for it. I'm going to let you have it. Have what? I said. Have what? What for? That's what. Do you want me to really give you something to think about? I don't know, I said. I'm thinking about it. Then he clipped me over the ear. It was the first time he'd made sense all day.
Come and he. K65, Group 1. Fishbones Dreaming by Matthew Whitney. Fishbones lay in the smelly bin. He was a head, a backbone, and a tail. Soon the cast would be in for him. He didn't like to be this way. He shut his eyes and dreamed back to when he was fat and hot on a plate, beside green beans with lemon juice squeezed on him, and a man with a knife and fork raised, about to eat him. He didn't like to be this way. He shut his eyes and dreamed back to when he was frozen in the freezer, with lamb cutlets and minced beef and prawns. 3 months he was in there. He didn't like to be this way. He shut his eyes and dreamed back to when he was swimming in the net with thousands of other fish on the deck of a boat, and the rain falling wasn't wet enough to breathe in. He didn't like to be this way. He shut his eyes and dreamed back to when he was darting through the sea, past crabs and jellyfish and others like himself, or surfacing to jump for flies and feel the sun on his face. He liked to be this way. He dreamed hard to try and stay there.
Wong Yu Tim, K174, Group 1. The Pearl by John Steinbeck. The news of the approach of the procession ran ahead of it, and in their little dark offices the pearl buyers stiffened and grew alert. They got out papers so that they could be at work when Kino appeared, and they put the pearls in the desks, for it is not good to let an inferior pearl be seen beside a beauty. And word of the loveliness of Kino's pearl had come to them. The pearl buyers' offices were clustered together in one narrow street, and they were barred at the windows, and wooden slats cut out the light so that only a soft gloom entered the office. A stout, slow man sat in an office waiting. His face was fatherly and benign. His eyes twinkled with friendship. He was a caller of good mornings, a ceremonious taker of hands, a jolly man who knew all jokes, yet who hovered close to sadness. For in the midst of a laugh, he could remember the death of your aunt, and his eyes could become wet with sorrow for your loss. This morning, he had placed a flower in the vase on his desk, a single scarlet hibiscus, and the vase sat beside the black velvet-lined tray in the door in front of him. He was shaved close to the blue roots of his beard, and his hands were clean and his nails polished. His doors stood open to the morning, and he hummed under his breath while his right hand practiced legerdemain. He rolled a coin back and forth over his knuckle, made it appear and disappear, made it spin and sparkle. The coin winked into sight, as quickly slipped out of sight. And the man did not even watch his own performance. The fingers did it all, mechanically, precisely, while the man hummed to himself and peered out the door. Then he heard the tramp of feet of the approaching crowd, and the fingers of his right hand worked faster and faster until the figure of Kino filled the doorway.
Lee and Key, K69, Group 3. Fairground, in memory of my father, by Elizabeth Jennings. There it was, Big Dipper, giant racer, figure of 8, any name, a fairground near the sea, and I was 5 years old, jumping and shouting and begging you to take me high up there into the clouds and the sun. You paused at first and then went up to test the ride without me. I watched you go out of my sight, heard the engine pounding, saw the steep climb and the dips, and I was all excitement, elation. And when you came out of the glory of golden air, you picked me up, put me between your knees, and slowly we climbed up the sheerest slope I'd ever seen or felt, and I was afraid, but joyfully so. You held me tight between your knees, your hands over mine, and how could I know this was the closest we'd ever be? That never again would there be a ride to the heavens, you bearing me up and me all trust and delight. The engine dipped down and up and down again with the elan of speed, and the air ran through our hair. Time was somewhere else until we began to slow and came down at last to the usual world of flatness. But I was still up with the sun, and you holding me tight in a closeness so sweet, in a timeless pleasure of height.